Maryland also has a black attorney general. That don't mean a damn thing. We seen the black attorney general that let those race soldiers get away with, or that black that DA that pretty much let all them cops get off when they broke Freddie Gray's necks, and Obama started calling black folks thugs because they started questioning it. I don't want y'all to forget about that. So that don't mean nothing. Maryland also has a black attorney general, a black state house speaker, and a black treasurer. Now he said this: we have moved in partnership with leaders across the state to uplift black families and address racial disparities in our communities, Moore wrote. That is the context in which I made this difficult decision. Because while I appreciate the work that went into this legislation, I strongly believe now it is not the time for another study. Now is the time for continued action that delivers results for the people we serve. Now, he didn't say what results it was. Now, the bill was introduced by the largest black caucus in the nation's state legislators. So now, while you had the Congressional Black Caucus in California, which is one of the most important places, shut it down, and you had a damn Republican try to open the bill up, and that was a chess move. And you got this Negro talking about, well, we can't study it. Usually they tell you it's a study, but then they say actions, but now they're not saying the actions. But when he started talking about this, we got this black and we got this first black and that, I said, okay, that sounds like them old Al Sharpton Negroes. That sounds like the old civil rights generation that says, well, this is the first black person that rode the bus, and this is the first black person that made a ham and cheese sandwich. I don't want to hear that. Now, you got judges out here literally breaking the law, hiding illegal alien gang members from known mafia gangs from Mexico and El Salvador and everything else, and they're telling black folks, you need to just be happy. See, what they're doing, bro, is they're appealing to the old Negroes who just want a Cadillac and a white woman and a pension. That's really what they're appealing to. And it's a new day. They're behind the times when they use those terms. They're very much behind the times. And what's happening now, if we could go over to, well, let's go to this here. Now, this is something interesting I want you to listen to. Now, this is something that I heard a while ago, but I just want to play the audio. And this is something, this is supposed to be on Netflix. I haven't heard it, but I heard this some time ago. Matter of fact, let's actually get the dates together. Let me get the dates together because I just want to make sure. And we'll wrap up in another 15 minutes or something. But there was, actually it was in 2020. I don't know how good it is, but basically somebody made an action drama and they say it's on Netflix now. It's called Cracker. And it came out in 2020. So basically it's about a present day white supremacist. He gets thrust back in time where black Americans rule and the whites are enslaved. And it's been race soldiers online. They've been going crazy. Because they're looking at it like, well, damn, we've been mistreating these Negroes for over 300 to 400 years. I don't want to be mistreated like a Negro. So basically, they sent a white supremacist. This is the premise of the film. They sent a white supremacist back in time and said, okay, you're going to receive the mistreatment that happened to black folks. And so the narrative online has been going is, well, man, what if that really happens? Black folks ain't going to do no shit like that. If black folks really, really want to turn up like we ought to, shit will be much, much different. Most black folks just want to be left alone. That's just a simple fact. Most black folks just want to be left alone, and that's a hard thing in itself. But, so there's a white guy that got to take on this, and I want to play this audio, and I thought it was very interesting. He talked about this film. So let me see if I can get it up here on the screen. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Why the hell is it not playing? Okay, hold on.
people become the slaves. Like, and it's, you know.
Okay, here we go. Let me replay it again. Damn, it stopped again. Okay, that's weird. All right, let's try it this time. I don't know why it's doing this. This is very strange. Okay. Okay, I think we got it now.
You can see the trailer on YouTube. This new series, Cracker. You can see the trailer on YouTube. Basically, the premise of the show, it's a modern day series where it's about where black people become slave owners and white people become the slaves. Like, and it's, you know, I've been seeing a lot of TikTok videos of conservative white people that are super scared by this premise coming up, right? And they're like, oh my God, what if this actually happens? This is going to cause a divide. Like, let me tell you something, white people. If you're scared by this premise, it's because you've been shitty to black people over the years. Me, I'm not worried about this premise of this TV show at all. Because even if this did happen in real life and white people became slaves to black people, I know that I would get to be a house cracker. I would get to be a house cracker. I would get to be like the Samuel L. Jackson's character in the movie Django Unchained. Like a bunch of like the redneck Trump supporters would be out in the field picking cotton and shit, and I'd be in the house with a cane going like, well, we got ourselves another cracker. Like, I would be like the Uncle Ruckus of this movie if this movie came to real.
I thought that was very interesting. That's crazy. That's very interesting. Now check this out. Now listen to this. Now we were just talking about this not too long ago. Now remember, Tory Lanez has been stabbed like a whole bunch of times. He got stabbed by this Mexican, as you well know. California politics is race based. If you black, you go with the blacks. If you white, you go with the whites. If you Mexican, you go with the Mexicans. There's not a lot of intertwining in between the three. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like business or something like that. But you know, a lot of times the Mexicans side with the Aryans. They side with the white supremacists. The Mexican mafia sides with them as well. As we both know that about maybe 5+ years ago, if that, in Boyle Heights in East Side LA, the Mexican mafia instructed what they call the Hazard Gang to firebomb a lot of black people's houses. Now, these weren't black folks that were gang members. These were women and children, that, from what I understand, that lived in the projects in East LA in a Mexican project. And the Hazard Gang was instructed to racially cleanse that project, get all the black folks up out of there. So what they started doing is they started firebombing their houses, trying to set their houses on fire and do all that kind of stuff. There was I believe it was a RICO or an FBI investigation. They came and the guy admitted that he was instructed by the Mexican mafia, and he was instructed to do so. So yeah, that's they get down in the LA prisons. There was a Mexican dude that stabbed Tory Lanez, and things are being said that maybe they say that Tory Lanez might have been on what they call a 50-50 yard. So it was a lot, you know, it's a yard where he's on the yard. He's a celebrity, so they put like celebrities on the yard. They put rats on the yard. It's supposed to be almost like a PC yard kind of. But anybody that does something flunky, they get put off their set and they get sent to that yard. Okay, so he was at that yard, I believe. He wasn't like at a general population yard. I doubt it. I don't think he was in a general population yard because it would have been a little crazier. So, as a Mexican dude that stabbed him, and people are saying that maybe the Mexican dude stabbed him to get into the good graces of the yard. That's what people are saying. That's a possibility. So the black folks is mad, you know, in them California prisons. This might start a war. It's possible. So now, another thing that people were saying online that I'm seeing, and I'm playing my homie Big Talk's video, is that, you know, Tory Lanez, he did some interesting things. He was selling what they call NFTs. And I was telling you earlier today, man, when they want dumb Negroes. What is this? Hold on one second.
Yeah,
Okay,
but there's a main thing with the Tory Lanez that you got no one's understanding. No one's really seeing that. The thing is Tory was too drunk and doesn't remember what happened.
Okay.
That's the main thing that fucked him up. He was too drunk. He don't know what the fuck happened, so he can't tell you what happened. He
don't
can't
remember?
even tell you he didn't shoot her. He don't remember shit. He was that drunk.
Well, his
They
lawyer
paid
has
the
new
bodyguard.
information.
Yeah, the bodyguard of the girl, the other girl that was there. I don't know who she is. Her former bodyguard just came out and said he saw her shoot the gun. You want to know the truth? Tory Lanez people paid him to say that.
Why would he go to jail for that?
Why is the bodyguard not going to jail? He's just saying I seen her shoot the gun.
You said the bodyguard is saying that?
What's going to happen? She's going to say no, I didn't. There's no proof to say that it didn't. That he's lying. So boom. Tory's people paid that dude to say that. The truth is, I don't know about Megan. I don't know her level of drunkenness, but I know Tory. He was too drunk. He don't even know what happened. Until today, I guarantee you, if you put $1 million in front, he couldn't tell you exactly what happened. What the bodyguard said is the girl had the gun, shot twice, and then Tory knocked the gun out of her hand.
Why did she have a gun in the first place?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Whose gun is it? Put it to you like this. I don't know what happened. Tory don't know what happened. But the jury said it was him. And what I get him on, I think it was his gun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's acting hard, man. When I see that little dude on TV or whatever, he's just a little midget. They thought he was so damn hard. If you were to ask me before this happened to him, who's the one motherfucker you see that you think just thinks he's too hard and needs to be humbled? I'd have said Tory Lanez. So this guy's fucking 5'2", running around here like he's gonna whoop somebody or something. It's like, get out of here, man. He just thought he was too hard.
So he thought he was
too
tough.
hard. Yeah, he's Canadian, so he's disconnected from the real world. He's learning about street shit in America. There was no street shit when he was there. Now, you got people who just created some street shit in Canada.
Well, he didn't grow up in Canada.
You know
I think he grew up in New York.
Nah, he grew up in Canada, buddy.
You sure?
He ain't grew up in New York. Yeah, he grew up in Canada.
All right,
Star Peterson. He grew up in Canada. He's Canadian.
Okay, so
he's not a, you know.
It said okay. He was born in Brampton, Canada. Then
no niggas in Brampton, Canada, bro. Ain't no such thing as a hood.
It says the family was based in Montreal before moving to Miami, Florida, following his mother's death, causing them both to move frequently through the U.S. Then his father remarried, went to Atlanta, Georgia, and because he got a New York accent. So then he ended up in 2006. He was sent to live with his cousins in Jamaica, Queens. Okay, so he was born in 92.
He's not an American citizen, so that should go to tell you. And I could tell you how he's not an American citizen because he's going to get deported right after he gets out of jail.
Really?
Yeah, he's going he's out of here. He's going to get boom, which is not a big deal. The touring will hurt him, but if he, nowadays when artists are doing this collaboration together, they're not always in the studio together. They just, I'm gonna lace my track, you lace yours, and send it. So he'll be all right in that regard, but the touring will hurt him. I never understood him, so he's like a chorus guy, right? He does choruses, right?
Choruses, he kind of raps a little bit, does like R&B rap kind of stuff, A lot of auto-tune, singing and rapping.
The Feds seen these rappers. Feds said, wait a minute. Now these rappers are all independent, making money off of YouTube, Spotify, all this. We can't control this anymore. We have a bunch of young, ignorant, black kids that got a pocket full of money. And this is getting out of hand. And I think somebody affiliated with the Fed said, wait a minute. Because this has been, in the last 2-3 years, this has been a federal target on rappers.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I noticed that.
And you've also noticed this. And you gotta play both sides of it. There is a lot of rappers nowadays who are rich and have absolutely no fucking talent. So what happens, it's like, it's one thing to have a pocket full of money that you went and worked for, that you earned, that you have skill for. There's another thing, you just came up and you got a pocket full of money, some shit you shouldn't even have. You're gonna act different.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna act different. That's just the reality of it. If you saved $100,000 at work, and you saved all your paychecks and you got $100,000 in your bank account, you probably are gonna honor that money. But if you go to the casino and you win $100,000, you're probably gonna treat it a little differently, right?
I didn't know he was that big. He's
plenty big.
He had 2019. I haven't heard. I meant to check his stuff out, but he had. I think I remember that single, but I don't remember the name. But Jerry Sprunger with T-Pain. So he had records with Jagged Edge, T-Pain, Jermaine Dupri, Snoop, Chris Brown, Luda.
He's talented. You just get away. The thing is, he's a product of the whiteness, the white brush that's been painted on hip hop music. If this kid came along in the mid to early 90s, he'd have got ran off the stage by Sandman at the Apollo. Get this nigga out of here. What the fuck are we? You know what I'm saying? He's hard now. He's tough. This kid would have went in front of Method Man and Redman and and Raekwon and Ghostface Killer, and he'd have did that shit with his shirt off and all that. Come on. Now you got white kids. What's hard and what's authentic to us is different to what's authentic to the average little white kid in Spring Lake Park. It's a different ballgame. He can't decipher between he's real and he's fake. He can't do that. The white kid can't do that. We can. And when the black race was the dominant race as far as fandom in hip hop and as far as respect, you had to, when you came into the rap game, you had to have respect. Your style had to be respected before you even went in a booth. Who is this motherfucker? Who is he? What the fuck? He's from Canada? He's a thug? What?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The only Canadian rapper in the 90s was a white boy named Snow. Informer, look you now. I don't know if you ever heard of him. That's the only Canadian rapper I heard of in the 90s. Because you could have never walked into a booth. I'm from Canada. I'm a thug. What? There are no nowadays now, and you got to give Drake his credit. Drake gave a whole continent swag, whether you like him or not. There was black people in Canada prior to the come up of Drake were I don't know how to describe it. Were very proper, swagless black people.
Oh yeah.
Jim Johnson, Donovan Bailey. It was a different, and you got to give Drake his credit. Whether you like him, I'm not the biggest fan of his music, but whether you like him or not, he's an industry giant, and he gave a whole continent swag. But prior to Drake, you would never see black kids with dreads and braids running around Canada. You didn't see shit like that, bro. Niggas was not a place for niggas. There's a black dude that plays in the NBA named Dylan Brooks. You can look him up. He's a black dude from Canada that swore up and down he's the biggest, baddest thug of them all. And they did their research on him. Dylan grew up a hockey player in Saskatchewan, Canada. You know what I mean? And then once you get out of Toronto, it's real deep. It's a deep city in Canada.
Oh hell no!
It's actually one of the biggest cities in Canada. Once you get past Toronto, today, Once you get past Toronto, it's the same as it was before. There's no swag in Canada. If you go into Toronto today, you think you're in America. And I don't mean by mentality of the black man. I mean the look. They took the look from the American black man. They took his look and the swag.
So
they just walk around with it.
So they didn't have no style of their own. They had
you gotta give Drake his credit. Prior to Drake, he gave a whole continent swag. Prior to Drake, the niggas in Canada was not popping. And I urge you and all your listeners to do your own research. Yeah, see when Drake came up and see how blacks was acting in Canada then, and see once his rise came, wait a minute, he's Canadian, he's black, and he's acting like the rest of them Americans, we can do it.
Yeah, because I remember
Canadians were like, black Canadians realistically were 99% like Jamaicans.
Yeah.
And Islanders, like...
You know what?
So
you're telling the fucking truth. You know what? There was this dude named Cardinal Official. Now, this nigga look really fucking weird right now, but I remember this dude named Cardinal Official. He came out, they said often credited as Canada's hip-hop ambassador. He has been regarded as one of the country's most prominent hip-hop producers during the 2000s, distinctive for reggae and dancehall influenced style of hip-hop. Now, we heard about him here later on. He had this song with Akon called Dangerous, and it went quadruple platinum in Canada. But I'm gonna be honest, man, a lot of black folks, they ain't really listening to that nigga like that. Not here. You ain't gonna run around, and like you said, he was born in the Scarborough district of Toronto, Ontario, and raised by Jamaican immigrants' parents. Yeah.
Because if you notice something, when have you ever heard people of color in Canada talk about reparations?
Never.
Most Canadians, black Canadians, are not foundational black.
No, they're not.
Their lineage doesn't go back. Drake's does on his father's side.
On his father's side, yes.
Which is why he was able. Drake checked all the boxes. He's Jewish and he's black, so he's Canadian, but he's also black, which all Canadian rappers can't break that barrier. Drake was able to break that because his father is a foundational.
Yeah, so he was able to just hang around some niggas enough to kind of get some of the style, get in the booth. Yeah.
He's an actor. He's a trained actor. Okay, this is how niggas act. Okay, so this is the role I'm going to play. When you see Toussaint Morrison doing BLM and whatever, that's the exact same thing. He's a trained actor. The first time I seen it, that's what I said. Oh, he's a trained actor. This is a role he's playing. Drake is playing the role of black man when he does music.
I remember Cardinal Official. They were promoting it, I think, at the Source. Quest for Fire, Firestarter Volume 1. I remember that. I remember it. It was reggae, dancehall, influenced style of hip-hop. He had this song called Bacardi Slang or something like that. I'm telling you, bro, and I remember the producers. I remember since Cardinal Official, Socrates. Man, it says within the first year, 25,000 records sold in Canada. Nobody wasn't listening to that up here. Nobody.
No.
Nobody.
No Canadian. As soon as you say, see, Drake never did the gangster thing.
Right.
I'm a blood, I'm a crip. He never did that. But as soon as you see a Canadian play that role, it never leaves Canada.
No.
They never break off into America with that shit. They got trap music, all that shit. Guess who's doing it? Somalians.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you how disconnected Canada is from real thuggery and real street shit. If the baddest thug in Canada is a Somalian dude.
You don't even have we could take it further than that. And like when you said, no connection, They ain't got connections to foundationals, because the thing is, like, that's why I was talking about sinners and stuff with you. When I meet,
You talk about it with me, or I talk about it with you?
well, I told you about the movie and why it's such a big hit, and it goes into the Delta blues. So
You talking about the movie?
the movie, yeah. So I was
I
basically,
thought you talking about actual cultural centers.
no. I was saying that, you know, like, when I could, for example, and I was doing this on my other little channel too. I was saying, when black folks from America, when they see each other and they start talking, and depending upon maybe the accent, or sometimes we just get talking, right? And 9 times out of 10, if I just have a random casual conversation and I hear a certain accent, if I could tell, for example, like if somebody's from Chicago, I could tell by their accent. So if they say they from Chicago, I don't have to ask where their people is from. I know that 9 times out of 10, they from Mississippi. And if I ask them 9 times out of 10, they can say, yeah, my grandmama from Mississippi. Because when you get between Mississippi and Chicago, it's like one and the same. If you were to close your eyes in Mississippi and drive 8 hours up to Chicago and keep your eyes closed and go over on the west side or the south side and just listen to how they talk, it's going to be a Mississippi accent. It might be a little faster, but if you were to go in someone's house and if somebody's grandmama is still alive and they was born in maybe the 30s or the 40s or the 50s, but they left Mississippi, if you were to sit down with them long enough and you still had your eyes closed, you would still think you were in Mississippi. The only difference is the talking might be a little fast. It might be a little fast. It might be more fast talking. It might kind of sound more like somebody's trying to get a deal or whatever the case may be. It's going to be just a little faster. Just a little bit. So I don't have to ask them where they're from. I don't have to go and kind of wonder, is this person culturally different or whatever. If I meet somebody from New York and they're a foundational, and I ask them, where's your people from? 9 times out of 10, they from Virginia or Carolina, because that's where the migration was. So a lot of them don't have that connection. Now, you did have some black folks from the Underground Railroad that did go up to Canada. You did. But 9 times out of 10, like you said, a lot of them folks, they be from the islands. You have some from here, but a lot of them be from the islands. So they have no connections to the Deep South. They might hear certain music. They might get some of our style. But that's another way when you meet somebody black and you ask, hey, bro, where your people from? If they don't say from the Deep South, if they don't say from Virginia, if they don't say from the killing fields of the American South, if you talk to them long enough and you kind of listen to what they say, you don't have to ask for necessary specifics. Just based on where their people is from, you could tell culturally and where their mindset is. You could kind of tell. You could just know, because they're gonna have somebody in their family that come from that soil. So they're gonna have a certain outlook on life. They're gonna have a certain outlook on white supremacists, race soldiers. They're just gonna have it naturally because they grew up around it. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, like this governor that made that statement about the reparations. He's Caribbean. That's what he claims, and that's fine. But you can see how gung-ho on why he's not really rocking with the reparations thing, because he don't give a damn. He's posing as one of us. We thinking, oh man, that's my nigga. But you look back in his background and you're like, okay, your people don't come from where our people come from, so you're real disrespectful and you're real off-kiltered about our heritage. So you don't really care. So yeah, now we kind of look into your background a little bit and we're like, wait a minute, hold on. Why is, because a lot of times black folks that come from those areas, they're, even if they feel like, man, we probably ain't never gonna get that shit, they still gonna be like, no, my grandmama worked for this shit back in them 1800s. We owe that. We supposed to have that. They at least gonna say that. They not gonna say, well, no, they shouldn't get it, and oh, you're lazy and all this kind of. They're not gonna be making no excuses like that. They're gonna be like, man, we need that fucking bread, because I see what they built. I see that they were on the plantations picking cotton and all that kind of stuff and didn't get paid. I seen my grandfather make inventions and didn't get a patent because he was black and he was considered 3/5 of a human. Those stories are going to be passed down, much like somebody from, you know what I'm saying, from the motherland. You got somebody from East Africa or West Africa or whatever. They're gonna pass some kind of stories about their culture, whether it be from the food or whatever. So if somebody jumps up and they say they're from, I'm trying to think of a prime example, but like for example, like I seen a video, and we'll close out in a minute here. I seen a video of this lady, and this is very interesting. But there was a video of this woman, and she was from New York, but she had this really, really over the top New York accent. And this sister was asking her, where is she from? And she says, oh, I'm Nigerian. She had this real over the top New York accent. But she was saying slick stuff about Southern women, talking about they can't dress. And you look at them old pictures, you can see pictures even now. Southern women can dress. All the rappers, everybody from different places is trying to sound like Southern folk. But she says Southern women can't dress. New York women gave y'all game and this, that, and the third. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Nigga, you Nigerian. You don't dress in your native clothes. You can't speak on black American women. You can't say they can't dress. And you said when New York broads gave us, so when you start checking these folks' background, you're like, wait a minute, nigga, where's your people from? Because I know your mama and your great grandmama don't dress like how my grandparents dress. So we got to start poking holes in, and when you see those little things, it looks like it's just a little innocent thing where somebody could say, well, man, that ain't no big deal, and you're like, nah, wait a minute, hold on. Because if we were to say the same thing, Nigerians can't dress. Y'all got this dress from us. Well, if you look at what this chick is wearing, she ain't dressing like no fucking Nigerian. She's dressing like a black American, whether they from New York or not. And most New York women that are foundational black Americans, the descendants of the slaves, freedmen, most of them come from them from the Floridas and the Carolinas and Virginias. Most of them. If you like 50 Cent, his people are from the Carolinas. He talks about that. He had a whole damn movie about it. Frank Lucas, he was from New York. His people was from the Carolinas. They're from New York, but they trace their people back to the killing fields of the American South. So we have a commonality when we start talking to each other. Hey, where your I was at work one day, bro, and a Jamaican girl did that to me. She wanted to do a paperwork check, bro. She's like, because I'm talking about, like, when you meet coworkers and stuff like that. And she said, where's your people from? I wasn't offended. I let her know right off the bat. They from Kentucky by way of Mississippi and stuff. And she wanted to hear the history. She wanted to kind of know, like, what was the whole story and this, that, and the third and stuff like that. And then she said, well, my people from Jamaica. They're Jamaican. I said, okay. Now, I couldn't tell initially. I couldn't really tell. Because she sounded like us. She sounded like she came up with us. You see what I'm saying? I really couldn't tell because her accent. I couldn't tell. She sounded like she'd been with us the whole time. I said, yeah, she grew up with black Americans. But I could not tell until she told me that. You see what I'm saying? My point is, she wouldn't say nothing like that. So it's not a thing where, now this lady, she's saying she's Nigerian, but she's dissing Southern women. But she's from New York, so she feel like, well, New York folks gave us a style. But the thing is, you're not old enough to qualify and make that statement. because she looked like she was in her early 20s. So anybody that's from New York knows that most black folks from New York that ain't immigrants, their people are from the South. So you're not even gonna say anything like that. You see what I'm saying? So my whole point is that lady that was asking me, where's your people from? She would never say nothing like that, because she grew up around us enough to respect us. She ain't gonna say that. So she looks at us like how we look at her. Like, okay, you one of us. Yeah, your people, they don't come from the South. They ain't foundationals, but you grew up around us. You know what I'm saying? So we look at her like, okay, that's fam. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, I couldn't tell that she was Jamaican, because she probably grew up with her people was I think some of her people was Nigerian too, but her folks, she probably grew up in Minnesota to where, you know, cause she didn't have no accent at all. I would have never known that none of her people was Jamaican. There wasn't no Jamaican accent. There wasn't even the slightest amount. You see what I'm saying? But she wouldn't even said nothing like that. Oh, yeah, you black Americans ain't got no culture. Y'all don't know how to dress. She tried to make it, that lady I heard on the video, tried to make it look like it was a New York thing, but a lot of black folks called that out. It's a new day, man. It's a new day where you're not going to be just hearing about black folks just randomly just getting brutalized left and right. It ain't nothing happening. No, something going to happen. And for coons, it's a new day where folks ain't going to just be able to just do stuff. Now, one thing I want to say before I close is the internet is a place where, with me and you, when we grew up, it wasn't a place where you could just get away with stuff. People on the internet can get away with stuff. But now, because the internet is now the new radio, and radio ain't shit no more, if you say something or you do something, it's an archive. So if you trying to get some clout for some goofy stuff, you gonna get chastised if you say something that's off code. You know, so nowadays they can't. You remember back in the day when, like, some of the older folks that probably wasn't in our best interest, they could just show us a clip and be like, yeah, vote for Obama, he's great. We start pulling up some paperwork on a nigga like, all right, wait a minute. Nigga, you don't come from our cloth. You might sing some Al Green, but you don't talk like us. We get to asking you questions, and you get to talking down to us and talking crazy. Then we start looking up your paperwork. Nigga, your people's from Kenya. You don't rock with Kenyans. You don't rock with Africans. You don't really put nothing on the line. Where's your, what about your people? Don't you got some descendants? Don't you got some folks from Africa? You don't rock with them. You don't stand up for Africa. So now we got to start looking at you sideways like, okay, this nigga's a tether. You married a black American woman from the south side of Chicago to give you some street credibility, and you show up and you want to chastise us and tell us who we should vote for while telling us we're thugs. And then you want to turn around and start telling some of the, you know, the black American NBA players, start talking slick to them. I seen a video with the Timberwolf nigga. LeBron James had to get on his ass like, yeah, that nigga say the truth. Yeah, he the truth. You see what I'm saying? So you really don't got no real soil with us. So you're like a robot. You're a tether. You just kind of just got us for our votes. We got you in. We got you where you needed to be. And you doing like Fat Joe. You know, you doing like how Fat Joe is. You know, we gave you the credibility, and now what y'all doing is you turning around and you're like the COINTELPRO niggas. You know, like how, are you familiar with what happened to the Panthers, bro?
No.
The Black Panthers was demolished because of coons and informants. That's why it failed, 100%. You had the feds got a hold of some dudes and basically said, look, man, we caught you with this dope. This is before like the crack era and stuff. We caught you with this heroin or something. Or we caught you with this. Enroll in the Black Panthers and report us back to what they're doing. You know, and it wasn't just the Panthers, the so-called, oh, well, he's revolutionary. It wasn't just with them. You had singers like, there's a sister that made a really good, I want you to check this out. This was a very Let me see if I could pull this up. Forgot her name. Oh, Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday was under surveillance of the FBI or the COINTELPRO. Like that whole, you had a lot of black singers back around those times that was putting money up for the civil rights movement and stuff like that. And Billie Holiday, I think with King and, hold on, let me just be sure here. Let me just check this real quick, and we'll wrap up. Yeah, there's this thing, or there's a movie called The United States versus Billie Holiday. Now, this sister won a Golden Globe. Her name is Andra Day. She can sing her ass off. She's dope as hell. So she's a soul singer, songwriter, and an actress. She could sing just as good as she could act her ass off. And she was in Marshall, which was Chadwick Boseman as Thurgood Marshall. He played as Thurgood Marshall. And then she was in United States versus Billie Holiday. And it's a film about Billie Holiday. And let me go back. She was in a now here's a movie you might want to see now that you got Netflix. It's called the Deliverance. Andra Day's in there, Omar Epps, Monique, Glenn Close. It's gonna be a bunch of black folks. When you see them, you're gonna know, like, okay, this is an all-star cast. Now, this is the soundtrack. Hold on, let me go back. Just make sure here. So yeah, Billie Holiday made a song called Strange Fruit, bro. Basically, the song was calling out white supremacists and race soldiers. So the FBI followed her all across the nation. She received a warning from the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, a government agency which lasted from 1930 to 1968, to never sing that song again. It's called Strange Fruit. Now, you probably heard this song before, where it says southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. She sang that song basically calling out lynchings. So now this dude named Henry Anslinger in 1955. Now remember, 1955, Emmett Till was killed in the same year. She was basically targeting Billie Holiday, and they had a problem with her singing this song. You see what I'm saying? She was being framed, and she kept singing the song. She was put on trial. She was sentenced to a year in prison in West Virginia. And she was released from Alderson Federal Prison in 1947. And they revoked her license to perform in the cabarets. But then she played a sold-out show at Carnegie Hall and went on to perform more than 22 times. So Billie was a gangster. You really need to see Billie Holiday versus the United States. You definitely want to see that movie. And you want to see her movie on Netflix called The Deliverance. Or, well, not Billie Holiday, but the sister that played Billie Holiday. So you know, um, when we start talking about Black American culture and stuff like that, and like when you told me about Canada, yeah, there's no comparison. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of folks with these stories, you know, revolutionary stories that stood up. So that's why we're like, okay, like when you think about Canada probably got some too, but like you said, that's further proof. They follow us, man. They follow black folk here in America. You know, but yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up, man. We've been going on for 3 hours. I think what I'm gonna do, bro, is I'm gonna chop this up into 3 pieces and I'm gonna upload it. It's probably gonna take a while for me to, you know what I'm saying, edit it and get it going. So I appreciate you joining, bro.
All right, man. That's a great one.
We'll do another one next week.
You got it.
All right, peace.
Sure.
Tuner.